Sanji is the heart of the Straw Hats, the cook who feeds, the fighter who protects, and the man who never lays a hand on a woman. But what if I told you that his kindness isn't just who he is? It's a shield forged by trauma. Today we're uncovering the dark side of Sanji's past, the abuse, rejection, and pain that shaped him into the man we know. Because behind every smile, Sanji is still running from a childhood that nearly destroyed him. Sanji is one of the most beloved characters in One Piece, known for his chivalry, loyalty to the crew, and unshakable kindness. But behind the gentleman cook who sacrifices everything for his friends lies a past scarred by rejection and cruelty. Born into the infamous Vinsmoke family, Sanji was treated as a failure from childhood, mocked, beaten, and locked away simply because he lacked the genetic enhancements his siblings possessed. His own father, Judge, saw him as worthless, while his brothers delighted in his suffering. The only light in those dark years came from his mother, Zora, whose compassion left a lasting mark on him. When Sanji finally escaped, he carried not just dreams of the All Blue, but also the weight of the trauma that shaped how he treats others. His refusal to strike a woman, his relentless generosity, and his desperate need to prove his worth are not just quirks. They're survival mechanisms born from his childhood pain. To understand Sanji's kindness, we first have to understand the shadows he came from. Sanji's journey is not just about becoming a great cook or finding all blue. It's a battle to overcome the scars left by his family and past. His childhood in the Germa kingdom was defined by cruelty. His brothers mocked him, his father disowned him, and even his supposed royal bloodline rejected him. This rejection cut so deeply that Sanji grew up constantly questioning his worth. But unlike his siblings, Sanji inherited his mother's heart. Her kindness became the foundation of his identity, even if it left him vulnerable. This trauma explains so much about who Sanji is today. His refusal to hurt women is tied to his mother's influence. He associates with women with the compassion that saved him in his darkest moments. His obsession with feeding the hungry comes from his own near starvation as a child when Zeph gave up his own leg to keep Sanji alive. And his constant drive to protect his crew is fueled by the loneliness he endured growing up when no one protected him. But Sanji's trauma also has a darker edge. His insecurities often lead him to doubt his place in the crew, making him quick to sacrifice himself, like when he tried to leave the Straw Hats during Whole Cake Island to protect them from Big Mom. His past convinces him that he isn't worthy of love or belonging, so he throws himself into danger to prove his value. In many ways, Sanji is still that boy locked in a cell, desperate for acceptance. Sanji isn't just written as a cook with the heart of gold. He's written as someone whose kindness exists because of his suffering. In anime, we often see characters shaped by tragedy, but Sanji's case feels painfully real. His childhood under Judge and his siblings wasn't just cruel, it was designed to erase humanity. Yet instead of becoming cold like them, Sanji clung to warmth. This is the paradox that makes him so compelling. His greatest strength was forged out of the very cruelty meant to destroy him. In anime terms, you could say Sanji embodies the reverse path of trauma, where someone like Sasuke and Naruto let pain fuel vengeance. Sanji let pain fuel empathy. Every time he feeds an enemy, every time he risks himself for a stranger, he's rejecting the lessons his family tried to drill into him and rewriting his own story. Oda shows us this vividly in moments like the Barati flashback, where Sanji nearly starves with Zeph. That suffering became his vow. No one else will ever go hungry if I can help it. But Oda doesn't stop at making him empathetic. He also shows the cracks. Sanji's self-sacrificial streak, throwing himself into hopeless fights, enduring beatings rather than hitting a woman, putting his body and pride on the line again and again, mirrors the darker side of trauma. It's the anime expression of a real-world truth. Sometimes people who grew up abused believe they only deserve love if they suffer for it. Sanji's loyalty is beautiful, but it's also dangerous because it's rooted in the same wound of unworthiness. And that's what makes Sanji feel so alive as a character. He isn't just a kind anime cook trope, he's a walking contradiction. His kindness is inseparable from his pain, his strength inseparable from his scars. Oda built him so that every smile and every plate of food is carrying the shadow of his trauma. That blend of light and darkness is what turned Sanji from just another crewmate into one of the most human characters in One Piece. Sanji's kindness isn't just a personality trait, it's the scar of his darkest experiences, turned into a philosophy of life. The boy who once nearly starved to death on a barren rock with Zeph doesn't just feed people because he enjoys cooking. He does it because he knows exactly what it means to be on the edge of death, begging for even a crumb. That trauma became the core of his character, a vow that no one in his presence would ever feel that same hunger. But this vow is also an act of rebellion. Sanji is born into a family, the Vinsmokes, who treated people as disposable, where compassion was weakness and life itself was a commodity. By choosing to nurture instead of destroy, Sanji rejects the cruelty of his bloodline. He doesn't measure worth by strength, conquest, or money, but by the simple ability to sustain life. Every meal he cooks is quiet declaration, I am not them. This is the tragic brilliance of Sanji. His kindness isn't naive. It's born from suffering, sharpened by loss, and aimed like a blade against the world that once tried to break him. Feeding someone, even an enemy, becomes his way of fighting back. His trauma became his purpose. His pain became his power. And that is Sanji's greatest secret. Behind the smile, behind the hospitality, lies a man who turned his darkest hunger into unshakable vow to keep others alive. Sanji's story isn't just about one man's suffering. It ripples across the Straw Hats, the One Piece world, and even how fans interpret the meaning of kindness itself. On the surface, Sanji is the comic relief, the flirt, the cook who can whip up miracles in the kitchen. But beneath that lies something far more profound. His trauma transforms the way the crew operates, shaping their bonds and their ability to survive in the most hostile seas. Think about it. Without Sanji's vow to never let anyone go hungry, the Straw Hats would not be the same crew. His food isn't just fuel, it's trust, unity, and survival. Every meal he cooks after a battle is a way of healing wounds that medicine alone can't touch. And when Sanji refuses to let someone starve, even an enemy, it forces the rest of the crew, and us as viewers, to rethink what strength really means. On a broader scale, Sanji's impact is a direct challenge to the logic of the One Piece world itself. In a world ruled by violence, hierarchy, and bloodlines, Sanji quietly flips the script. He doesn't seek dominance like Kaido, control like Big Mom, or even pure freedom like Luffy. His revolution is smaller, but no less radical. He chooses to create, not destroy. He embodies the idea that kindness is not weakness. It is a weapon of its own, one that disarms hatred and builds loyalty. And perhaps the most haunting impact is on us as the audience. Sanji forces us to question how trauma shapes identity. Would his compassion exist without the starvation, the abuse, the rejection by his own family? Does the beauty of his kindness come because of his tragedy or in spite of it? That tension, the duality of his suffering and strength, is what makes Sanji one of the most unforgettable characters in One Piece. His story shows that sometimes the greatest power doesn't come from fists, flames, or swords, but from the quiet refusal to let others endure the pain you once knew too well. Sanji's story leaves us with lessons that go far beyond One Piece. At its core, his journey is about the paradox of strength born from suffering. He was beaten down, humiliated, and starved as a child. Yet, instead of letting that cruelty harden him into another monster, he chose the opposite path. His kindness is not naive, it's a deliberate forged in fire. That decision is one of the most powerful takeaways in the series. The idea that your trauma doesn't have to define your destiny, but it can fuel the way you redefine what power looks like. Another key takeaway is how Sanji reframes the idea of family. The Germa 66 bloodline may have rejected him, but he built a new family aboard the Baratier and later with the Straw Hats. His story reminds us that family is not always about blood. It's about who stands by you, who accepts you for who you are, and who you choose to protect. For many viewers, this hits home on a deeply personal level because it mirrors real world struggles with toxic family ties and the healing power of found families. Sanji also challenges us to rethink masculinity and vulnerability. In a world where strength is often shown through domination, Sanji shows strength through empathy, care, and even restraint. His refusal to fight women isn't always portrayed as flawless, but it reveals how deeply personal values can shape a person's identity for better or worse. The takeaway here is that true strength isn't just about what you can destroy, it's about what you choose to preserve. Finally, Sanji teaches us that kindness isn't free, it's costly. It demands sacrifice, it leaves you vulnerable, and it doesn't always pay off in the short term. Yet in the long run, it builds something unshakable: loyalty, trust, and love. That's why the Straw Hats would risk their lives for him, just as he would for them. His journey shows that sometimes the strongest legacy you can leave behind isn't measured in true treasure or power, but in the lives you've nourished, protected, and uplifted. So, what do you think? Is Sanji's kindness his greatest strength, or is it also his greatest weakness? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed diving into the tragic brilliance of Sanji's story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths of One Piece.